All right, what's up, everyone? A lot of you are home from work right now, not by choice, right? These are unprecedented times, and I just want to offer some words here that may help, may not. I hope they do. Honestly, most of you know my story, I think, but I'll keep it real short. I left General Motors one day. I was bringing my laptop in every day. I worked on the assembly line for over 20 years, and I brought my laptop in, and I had an Air card. Many of you don't even know what those are, right? And that's how I connected to the internet because I knew day trading was my destiny. I loved it. I had passion for it. So I was self-taught from an assembly line at General Motors, and then all of a sudden, I was bringing it in for years, trading from the line, making every mistake you can make, but learning, studying. Right in between cars, people ask me that. In between cars, I'd work, do my job really quickly. You could, you got an air hose that extends. You can work up a little bit, and then go back and maybe catch 45 seconds at your desk there with the laptop to read anything you want or watch a chart or study or whatever, right? And I did that for years. It's my Shawshank Redemption story, right? Anyway, long story short, one day out of the blue, a security guard tells me I can't bring a laptop in. I've been bringing it in every day for years, and I said, well, let me go put it back in my car. Went back to my car and drove home and told my wife I was quitting. I only had 7 years to go to get full retirement, and that was what forced me to go from trading on the side from a laptop and an air card from a factory floor to become a professional day trader. It kind of forced me. So where am I going with this? A lot of people are panicking right now. Well, think about this. This is unprecedented times. If you're forced to be home, at least use the time to study, right? If you're somebody who believes day trading is your destiny, and you see, you see the lifestyle it can bring, and believe me, there's nothing easy about it. But seize the opportunity. Take a crappy event and turn it into the best thing that ever happened to you. Because I was so invested in the market. I don't mean money wise. I mean emotionally. At that point, that I could not imagine being at work all day in a factory without access to my brokerage account and access to trading chat rooms and doing the learning I was learning. To me, then I was just a factory worker, and that was it. And that was unacceptable to me because it wasn't what I wanted. So I used that moment where he said I couldn't have the laptop anymore, and I just said, this is my trigger moment right here. And maybe some of you can take advantage of this as well, right? And really pour your heart into learning this craft. So having said that, we're going to do because there's going to be a lot of charlatans out there saying, hey, join our service and we'll make you rich in a week. Don't worry about being laid off. And Wayne and I will never tell you that. It is hard. But if you follow either one of us on Twitter, you know that we both follow a process. He's actually better at that than I am. He's like a freaking machine. But it's a process that we put together in our trading course. And it doesn't really matter what the market's doing. If you follow a process and you wait for A+ setups and you start with a decent list, there's money to be made. But there's a lot of dangers as well if you're winging it. So what we're doing, long story short, what we're doing is putting on a free webinar Wednesday, March 25th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And all we're doing, there's no topic, because a lot of people are panicking right now. Should you be trading during the COVID-19 crisis? Anything you have, any questions you have that we can answer, we will. All right. So feel free to show up, and you have to get registered. And I'll try to put a link in the below the YouTube video here. So you have to, if you watch this on YouTube, I'll try to put a link to register for the webinar. But it is strictly a Q&A. Absolutely not selling anything. We're just here to help, because I know a lot of people are kind of freaking out right now. All right. So let's go to the watch list video for Monday, March 23rd. And I'm showing you the SPY here. And I mean, that right here, this part here, this looks like a biotech that all of a sudden 7 people in the trial died, right? I mean, that's the SPY. But I think we all know why it's selling. There's so much uncertainty. If we knew there was an end date to this, right? But a virus is unpredictable. If we knew on June 1st this was going to be all better, we'd all hunker down, we'd spend less, we'd act right. And but something like this is open ended. I've never, I've been trading for decades. through the nasty crashes. And this is a little different because, it's not just one industry that needed bailing out, or, the whole mortgage crisis. It's not. It's, everyone's asked to stay home. A whole bunch of people are out of work. And who knows how many businesses are going to close. And then we're talking about the government pouring money into the situation. And ultimately, that's probably not good either. So all I can say is if you're trading this market, trade A+ setups. Don't get involved in a trade unless and until you have an A+ setup with proper entry, kind of like the ones we teach, right? And then once you're in, you practice scaling out like we teach. And we're also, right now, we're preaching take more off the table quicker when it's working. In other words, maybe not a third, maybe 2/3, at 1 hour, something like that, and tighten up your stops. And it's still easy to be, easy is not the right word. If you have a process, it's fairly easy to be successful even in this ugly market. All right. So, but you definitely want to be careful out there, and don't wing it. Winging it is super dangerous. But we'll be happy to talk about anything you want on Wednesday night. So what am I watching for Monday? Apple, it's not like sitting at support. It's getting beaten up with the rest of the market. Anytime there's chaos and everything's tanking, I always try to throw Apple on a chart. I actually had a trade late in the day on Friday. I didn't call it in chat, but this thing was in free fall, and I got filled like right above 228 and sold it. It's probably right there. I have to show you 1 minute candles. I made over $2 a share in Apple, like from right here to right here, just that quickly. Apple is kind of always my go-to when everything's getting beaten up for a potential bounce. So what am I saying here? If the market shows some strength or things start to kind of find a bottom, we might catch a nice trade in Apple. Certainly, it's an ugly chart right now. Looking back on the chart, I would say the 220 area, it spent like 2 or 3 weeks there, and also it was kind of a top back here. So old resistance can become support, and so this old resistance, and then right here, that's an interesting area. So if everything sells off again, maybe we get intraday shape down below 220. I'll be looking for a reversal snapback bounce in Apple. Keep in mind, I'm not an investor, I'm a day trader. And that was like a 4-minute trade in Apple for me on Friday. And I didn't take it big. I made like a few $100 on, I can't remember. I only traded 100 or 200 shares or something, right? But still nice little end of the day. So Apple is on watch, especially if things tank. I like it around 220. We'll see if we get an intraday setup. If things firm up, it also might be a decent opening range breakout to the upside. All right, but I promise you, by the closing bell on Monday, I'll be back in cash no matter what. I'm all cash every night. So WTRH is kind of tied into the food delivery craze right now, and the craze makes sense. We're all stuck at home. Grocery store shelves kind of empty. Food delivery is a big deal right now. I probably should have done Apron first, APRN, Blue Apron. This thing went from a little over $2 when traders finally figured out, hey, this makes sense. Unfortunately, I was on vacation back here. So it ran from a little over $2 to over 28 in a few sessions. Now, of course, that's a stupid move, even in this scenario. But now it just got decimated for a couple days and got close to the 8-day. So I do like this as a potential bounce play on Monday. All right. So with that said, WTRH is called Waiter Holdings. They're also in the food delivery business. And so you kind of have the same looking chart. They did an offering, I think, on Friday and tanked it. But, I still don't know that that'll matter much. If Blue Apron starts ripping again, I think this could be a nice sympathy play to that as well. So those are two I'm watching. I already talked about Apple. BMRA. I think this one also did an offering. I hate to be wrong. I should do more research or double checking before I make these videos, but I keep thinking this is the one that has the like a finger prick blood test for COVID-19, like a 10-minute test. Watch them be in something like food delivery, and I'm just remembering it wrong. But anyway, I'll certainly check before the opening bell. Anyway, and then they gapped up on that, and then they had a nasty sellage, and then the next day, somewhere in here they did an offering too, right? And there it is on a 5-minute base. So anyway, this one also, despite the offering, could certainly get some legs if any good news story about their test comes out, right? And by the way, if you don't know, the main test for COVID is like a swab up your nose all the way into your sinuses, and it almost goes into your throat. And I heard it's very, very unpleasant. So, if I have a choice, I'll take the finger prick any day, right? Okay, so BJ's Wholesale Club, just like a Costco, these things, if you've seen the news, your local news, I don't care what part of the country you're in, these wholesale clubs have people lined up around the block to get in every morning. I think, and they ran, you can see the big run they had. I think this big 2-day flush on it might be overdone. It might be time to start watching these for bounces already. I don't have Costco on my list, but there's Costco. I chose BJ to be the one to watch. But I do think maybe, even though it had a huge run, this big 2-day sell-off might be overdone. So I want to watch that for a bounce. Kroger's, it's a grocery store, but still grocery stores too. The shelves are empty. They fill them and they empty them. So I think this is another decent space to be watching after a big 2-day push back down into the 20-day. That's KR. ABT is Abbott Labs, a huge company, and 2 massive days down into what you could call some support from probably well over a year ago. But I can't help but think every major medical company could get involved in this COVID thing. And I haven't read the headlines. Maybe Abbott already is. But I think from 82 down to 68 in 2 days, this one could be primed for a decent bounce. CLX, Clorox, yeah, I never thought bleach should have jumped from 170 to 215 in a couple days, but now it's a few days lower back into the 20-day. Obviously COVID related as well. We're going to watch that one. TNXP, I don't love this, but let's zoom in a little bit. Gapped up here to $2, sold off, and then gapped up, and actually was holding up pretty well in pre-market on Friday, and almost climbed back up to where I thought it was going to take out the highs and kind of bled lower the rest of the day. Let's keep our eyes on this one though. If it can open a little higher, you might have Friday's high as a potential catalyst. It also had COVID in the headline, so we're going to watch that one. A couple more. NOVN. If this would have closed a little higher, like maybe right about here, you had this kind of solid green candle, and I'll pan out a little bit. This would have looked really interesting to me. You have this island down here. You had this big pop back here to almost $1. Friday's high, 77 cents. If it would have closed near there, I would have said, ooh, I love this over Friday's high with another potential catalyst right there. It ended up closing kind of weak, but it had COVID in the headlines as well. We're going to watch that one. And then lastly, UNFI, which is, I think, food distributor, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously, rightfully so, was very strong back here. Then a red day. It looked like it was selling off in a nice reversal on Friday with a pretty strong close and a very ugly tape. So this is another one you want to keep your eyes on probably every day for the next several weeks for a decent setup. All right, I'm leaving my list at that. We'll find some gappers in the pre-market. We will only be trading A+ setups. Let's really work together, keep the clutter down, and chat, and make some good money on Monday. I'm done babbling. See you on Monday.